Hey guys, I just wanted to do a quick video over something that I started, I guess, a few weeks ago. I decided that I wanted to create a learning journal. And I know most of you are going to say, aren't all your journals learning journals? And you would be correct. Yes, they are. Um, but I really wanted to have a centralized place for some of the techniques and ideas and things that pop up on videos that you try and then you kind of forget about them. Um, I know it happens to me a lot. I don't know if that happens to anybody else. Maybe it's just me. But I just wanted a centralized place for some of these. If you're like me, you have about 8 million sketchbooks and journals, give or take a million. And I just, like I said, wanted something that was centralized that I could pull out and be like, oh, yeah, I've tried this, it worked. Or, oh, yeah, this is what I was using for some texture for rocks, that kind of thing. So I decided to create what I call a learning journal. I am not using anything fancy for this. This is literally a reflections journal that I got from Jerry's. These were some of my first journals that I bought when I got into watercolor, and I like them. They're not 100% cotton or anything, but they are pretty good at handling the water. I am familiar with them, so I know how they react to certain things. And because of that, I thought that was a good journal to use. If you are like me, I'm probably never going to use expensive journals or expensive paper for test runs or experiments and that kind of thing, because I just sort of feel like that stuff should be good, I guess, which is why I usually kind of rail against the people who say that you have to use expensive paper. But this was also a fabulous size because it allowed me space to do my experiment and leave notes, which I'll show you in a minute. So this literally, like I said, is just an experiment. So I can write down what I'm doing, what I'm trying to remember, what I'm trying to figure out. And in a lot of cases, I also noted the colors. So that way I could go back and be like, hey, this didn't work. Can I tweak it to make it work? Or I have to come up with something else, that kind of thing. So like over here, this was kind of a double test. First, I wanted to see if the Beam Paints Wintry Night would be a good night sky paint because it's got that mica in it, but it's a gold mica. So I just kind of wanted to see how it played out. But I also wanted to try something because when I do my night skies and I have my moons, I have a really bad habit of not being able to keep my moon perfectly round, which honestly kind of bothers me. So I was trying to figure out a way to kind of help me do that. So I had an idea of putting down an acrylic paint circle and seeing how that would work. And then, touching to see if it would still bleed and that kind of thing. And it actually did not work. But again, I want this journal to be a place where you can fail and not feel bad, not feel like you're cluttering up another journal or something like that. So I did figure out that the acrylic paint line didn't work. And to be fair, it was a thin one. So I may try this again with a thicker line. But I did note that I could come back over and kind of redefine some of these edges if I needed to. So over here, I actually was doing a experiment. I had done this once before in one of the journal pages I had, but I kind of wanted to make sure I remembered it for next time. And so I had seen a video tutorial about using the edge of a credit card or a gift card or something to help create some texture, especially with cold pressed paper. And like I said, I just wanted to remember this and kind of show what I was getting and show also, how the amount of pigment matters and the amount of water matters. So that's what I did on that one. And then over here, it was kind of the same test as before, but I used a crayon, and it was just a white Crayola crayon to see if it would help. Kind of did, but not as much as I actually thought it was going to repel some of this. And I also wanted to do the trees over it to see if I could paint over that line if I wanted to bring trees up. So, like I said, it did help, but it wasn't fabulous. So again, this is supposed to be some place I can learn. I had a friend who I had done a small little journal page with lemons. She wanted a lemons painting to hang up in her kitchen. So she asked me if I would do one. And of course I did. But I didn't want to do a white background. And I couldn't decide. Initially, I was just going to do a really light wash behind it of I think this is cerulean blue. Yeah, cerulean blue. And I wanted to see how badly my lemons would skew green. And what I found was that my cool color lemons definitely skewed a little green, whereas my warmer colored lemons, it wasn't as affected. And there's a lot of reasons for that this color theory, and I won't get into. But these are the kind of things I wanted to try out. And I also want to give a shout out to the follower who noted buff titanium and mixing it and how it kind of works with colors and is neutral. That comment stuck in my head, and that's actually what I did for this painting in the end. If you're following my Blue Sky account or my Facebook page, then you'll have seen those pictures pop up. So shout out to you because that was helpful. But again, marked my colors and kind of some of my mixes and stuff. And I just wanted to see what would work. Over here, I wanted to know if I could use salt to make a good night sky. Most of us use white gouache, P.H. Martin's bleed proof, all that fun stuff to create our night skies. And I just kind of wanted to see if the salt would, I guess, give it some depth maybe. This is Prussian blue because, of course, I use Prussian blue on almost all my night skies. It didn't quite do what I wanted. I know a lot of people use this for snow and it's fabulous. It wasn't quite what I wanted, and I may play with this idea again. I don't know, maybe some smaller salt or something. I'm not sure, but it did not quite go the way I wanted it to go. So again, good to know. I might be able to tweak it to make it do what I want. I don't know yet. And so over here, I got one of the resist sticks, which is basically just a giant clear crayon. So these came off Amazon, nothing fancy. And I wanted to see how well these held up. And so this is just a phthalo blue. I wanted something that was very highly staining, very reactive in water, that kind of thing, just to see. You can see that it does repel in a lot of cases, but it also, the paint will go into the dips of the paper. And then the other thing I noticed was that if you tried to blot it off, you're actually going to get some staining in those areas. So I may be able to use this if I'm careful, again, for those outside edges of that moon, but we'll see. Again, it's something I'll probably play with. And now that I've kind of done this, I'm a little more comfortable trying it on like an actual painting. So I did not go over this. I should have with another color like I did the trees to see if I could do that. But again, that's something I can do in an actual painting. This is just some, I guess, foundation stuff that I wanted. And like I said, I just wanted it in a centralized area so that I could flip through it and be like, oh, hey, this doesn't work, or oh, I used a thin line on this, maybe I need to use a heavier line, those kinds of things. So I only started this a few weeks ago, so those are all the things I have put in it so far. I have a couple more ideas of stuff that I want to put in it. I just haven't gotten that far yet. But I don't know if this is a useful idea for you guys. Like I said, for me, it's really helpful to have it in one place and to be able to practice some of those techniques that we see that we're like, ooh, hey, let's try this, see how it feels. And then, I'm bad about forgetting about it until I I stumble across the video again. I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. Where did that happen? And I don't want to just flip through all of my journals to find that because, again, there's a lot of them. And I don't always know which, I may know I've done something, but I don't know which journal it's in. So I don't know. Hopefully you guys found this helpful, especially my fellow beginners out there who are trying to sort all this out in your head. I want everybody to feel welcome in the art community and like they can do it. And if you guys have tried something like this or have a better idea of how to set it up or something, by all means, please comment and let us know. I feel like everybody should be able to embrace art. and do it how they want to do it. And we should be helping each other along the way. So have a great day and get out there and paint something.